Well, it's a Friday afternoon in the NFL, particularly. That means there's going to be a news dump somewhere. We're going to talk today, live, right now, for all of you out there, Chiefs Kingdom and otherwise, about this trade and what it does to the draft. I'm Ryan Tracy, founder here of RGR Football, as well as NFL33.com, the Substack where you can get all of our draft information, our evaluations. You can get a discount on the Matrix. I also run Rogue Analytics. The Athletic Matrix is coming very soon. You can break that down for all the athleticism metrics that you might want. A lot to talk about here today, and this is kind of a low key. I'm not exactly feeling the greatest, so I just wanted to hang out for a little bit and discuss what this draft trade does. Old friend Ryan Poles, one of the Chiefs' old executives, is now the GM of the Chicago Bears, and he pulled off a big trade. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Cody. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. Nice to see you. And what old Ryan Poles just did was take the biggest piece of capital that any team could have in an offseason, that is the number one pick in the draft, and turn it into a gluttony of worth. And I think it affects not just the rest of the league pretty dramatically, but the Chiefs in particular, because it makes things harder on what I think their plan was shaping up to be. Now, we'll get into that here in a little bit, but here's the mechanics of what happened. So, the number one pick, there's been a lot of theories, especially even from me, that the Bears were going to want to stay in the top four. So that was basically going to be Arizona or Indianapolis trying to trade up, right? Because they wanted to stay in those top four picks. Well, one of those top four picks is likely to fall. Now, Jalen Carter's situation is not one that he's like accused of causing the deaths in his racing incident, but it's certainly a contributing factor. And so I don't think that he can be the first overall pick anymore. So now what I think Ryan Poles has done is bank on the fact that that's going to fall. And a couple other twists out of this. For the number one pick, the Bears end up getting pick number 9. That's standard. To get up to number 1, you were going to have to give up your first round pick if you're the Panthers. They did that. They also gave him 61. So now you're getting 2 top 60 players, basically on their board. A lot of good quality there. And I do see, B, that you have a question. We'll get into questions here in just a little bit. And I know there'll be a bunch of them, you guys. If you are regular here, put some question marks before your question because it helps me find them. If you're not a regular, I'm Ryan Tracy. I'm a former strength and conditioning coach, a performance coach, a consultant to a number of entities around the football universe. And I bring my experience to this matter and to the NFL, particularly the Chiefs, because I follow the Chiefs. So that's the perspective that I'm coming from, front office, from how you run an organization. Getting the 61 pick was pretty significant because this is a team that needs a lot of help in the Chicago Bears. And so Ryan Poles is trying to look out for his organization and get the most he can out of it. And I think that was a nice pickup. In addition, he ended up getting the first round pick from Carolina in 2024. So 2 1s and a top 60 pick, 61st pick, in the second round this year. Then he comes back with a second rounder in 2025. So he skips a year. And here's the thing that I think affects the Chiefs the most. He got DJ Moore out of Carolina. Now, this isn't like the most dynamic wide receiver room in Chicago, right? It's definitely an area that they are going to have to build up. And that's exactly why this is bad for the Chiefs, because they had such a need there that if they didn't go with Jalen Carter, who folks were really projecting to him, even if they had moved down to 4, if they weren't going to go that direction, they were going to have to help their offense. I felt that they were probably going to go the Carolina Panthers in that spot. We're going to do what the Bears now might do. Maybe they would go wide receiver. By getting DJ Moore, Ryan Poles is taking wide receiver off the top of their board, I think. I think that there's only a few players that are going to be worth that number 9 pick. And at the wide receiver position, I think that's really, really thin. So I don't know that they go there. I think now that they have DJ Moore, they think, I have Chase Claypool too. I can come back in the second now that I have an extra second round pick. I can come back in the third and I can get decent wide receiver play. That's what I'm looking for, to build out a unit, much like we do in Kansas City, because Ryan Poles comes from this organization and he's looking to replicate. Most guys want to replicate what they grew up in, what they came up in, and that is the Chiefs organization for him. Excuse me, I'm sorry to cough. I am way under the weather today. and wasn't going to do a live, but this topic came up and it's pretty good. So I figured we'd jump into it. So now that I don't think the Bears are going to be in the market at 9 for a wide receiver, well, what does that do? If you're Justin Fields and you got Charles Leno blocking for you at your left tackle, now it makes tackle a real possibility. I don't know if Jalen Carter's still going to be there. They might be banking that he is, in which case, great, because Chiefs don't need Jalen Carter. Would they love to have him? Sure, but they don't need him. The big thing is this sets the Bears up to be possibly taking a left tackle at 9, and that's a problem for the Chiefs. I expect right now that Paris Johnson is going to be higher on most teams' board than my guy Broderick Jones, who I think is the best tackle overall in this draft. But Paris has a higher floor right now. I think Jones has the higher ceiling. I'm banking on ceiling, much like you did with Patrick Mahomes. It is how good can he be, and that's why I have Jones above Paris Johnson. But I think a lot of teams are going to have Johnson up there. The problem is what I've been seeing projection-wise, hearing rumors coming off of the last week at the Combine, was that Paris Johnson probably wasn't going to start the tackle run until at least the teens, 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there, which meant that Skoronski was going to come off the board probably next, which means the Chiefs had a chance last week, I felt, of being able to trade up enough, maybe into 16, maybe into 19, and get Broderick Jones. Get a left tackle of the elite 3, the top 3, and that is Skoronski, although I have him as a guard on my board, Paris Johnson and Broderick, right? Don't get me wrong. We just Dan did a great film room on Anton Harrison, which I think is a viable option. But let's be real. Anton is second tier. Broderick, Paris, and Skoronski are the top tier. And so I've been kind of wrapping my head around this. Orlando is Orlando. We know the give and pull, the good and bad that's come from Orlando Jones in Kansas City. But thank you. Appreciate that, Red. It doesn't mean that the rest of the league doesn't understand that he's a solid tackle. He played well in the playoffs. So understanding that they didn't put the tag on him, that tells me one of two things. Either they feel that it's a slam dunk and they're going to get a deal done, which I don't know why you wouldn't apply the tag anyway if that were the case, or you just don't feel it's going to happen. And so you're moving on from Orlando Brown, expecting him to go test the market and only come back. Sorry. Only come back if he doesn't get the market that he wants. And I'm sorry, folks. I know this doesn't sound very good. I'm just trying to give you some good information today while I can. So the tackle position means that the Chiefs have a plan, or they had a plan. And I really do feel a trade for Laramie Tunsil, who is one of the guys that would be an upgrade over Orlando Brown. I think that's kind of a long shot. I think the cost to do that is still really prohibitive. I won't rule it out. It could still happen. This might force the Chiefs to be willing to give up a little bit more. But I really felt like, because there wasn't a whole lot of upgrade room, that it was going to have to be a trade up in the draft to go get one of the top tackles, top left tackles in particular. Now, for me, you can get away with drafting a right tackle, but that's not the most important thing. You can come back, and I'd like 3, 4, 5 guys on day 2 that could be right tackles and be good. But that's here in Wonderland where we're trying to get to. Yes, Only Knives. The Bears actually traded their first round pick away. So sorry, Jeremy. I swear I'm not contagious through the camera. I promise you. I might sound terrible, but I cannot infect you. I promise. So long story short, it makes it harder and harder. And I think that now this maybe puts a little bit more pressure on the Chiefs. It makes their life a little bit harder, that they're going to have to give up more assets, I think, to go up and get a tackle in the first round, if that's what their plan was. It kind of feels like that is what their plan was. I can't be certain of that, but that's kind of the way that it feels to me. Because at the end of the day, you got to protect Mahomes, and you can't leave him hanging out there. And Orlando's good, not great tackle. If you're going to let him go, you have to upgrade. And that is only one of two ways: either a better player at the pros, which is probably what they prefer, or an elite player in the draft that you feel very confident in not whiffing on. That's significant. So it's just it just makes things harder. And that's the thing is for a lot of the NFL, this makes things a little bit harder now too. Because not only was the tackle class there, but now it makes things harder for anybody else who needs a quarterback because now quarterbacks are going to go 1-2. Carolina's going to get their pick. Whoever they want, whoever they have top of their board is the next Carolina Panther signal caller. That's just the fact of it. The question is, are they going to screw it up? I don't know. If you don't go with the guy that is clearly the best in all facets, I have questions for you. Now, I will say this. It also puts pressure on the Houston Texans dealing with whoever they get because I have a feeling they're going to get probably not their first choice. So what happens then? The Colts need a quarterback. Arizona Cardinals don't. Arizona Cardinals are now the next piece to fall. But I don't know if it's worth the Colts to trade up one spot. I don't know how many other teams now that the Carolinas up top that might be coming for it. I would have said the Seahawks just a couple days ago, except now they extended Geno for ungodly amounts of money. So I don't know that they're going to come up that high. So what it does is I think, makes everybody a little bit more scramble proof in terms of they don't have to go get the quarterback as high, but it drops everything down, including the things that the Chiefs need and what a lot of the teams around are looking for. It's a good tight end class. It's a deep edge class. It's a deep tackle class. Two things that the Chiefs need. Now there's going to be more people coming for those positions, and I think that makes things a little bit harder. So let's see here. I will get to that one, Only Knives, here in a little bit. I'm going to start at the top. And hey, Steve, I'm sorry to hear that you have it too. That sucks. As you just said. So apologies. I didn't say it would be pretty. I just said I'd let you know what's going on in the league. So thanks for bearing with me, you guys. I appreciate the patience. Let's see. I see this is a big win for the Bears. DJ Moore's incredible talent, just needs a guy at QB. I agree with you. I don't think he's fulfilled his potential, and I think neither has Justin Fields. Maybe together they can sync and they can like force multiply. I don't think anybody's going to have the relationship that Patrick Mahomes has with Travis Kelce. It's unique even in this league. But if you get some guys that can have some synergy and become more than the sum of their parts, be better together than they could be individually, I think that is something that you could see there. And now another guy that I think has been misused in Chase Claypool, I still feel he's a big slot, even tight end if you want to line him up there. I don't think that he's as good against press. Even press bail, he has a tendency to not be able to manipulate defenders well enough out of the border cornerback position. So I like Chase Claypool coming into the slot more. I think that's important. So you need speed and you need a little bit of size and you need guys that can get open underneath. And so I think this allows the Bears to build out what they can do. And DJ Moore, I think, has the potential to be a one for the Bears and maybe bring Fields around. Now, like I said a few weeks ago, they were either going to trade this number one or they're going to trade Justin Fields. Clearly, what this says is that Ryan Poles and his staff has evaluated that Justin Fields is better than any quarterback in this draft. I can't say that I argue with them. I like Bryce Young. I like Stroud. I like Tanner McGee. I love Hendon Hooker. I think there's a couple of guys here that are a lot of risk in Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. A lot of risk there. But if you felt that Justin Fields wasn't going to eventually be a franchise quarterback, you had a lot of options, especially given one, but even at 9. So I think that tells you one thing. And I think putting a talent like Moore with him tells you that they're going to build around those two guys. Now, if you have that, could you go weapon like I originally thought the Bears would in going at another wide receiver? It's possible. I think it's way less likely, though, because I think build up the line for the Bears is probably the bigger priority at this point. If Moore wasn't in this draft and you just got 3 1s and 2 2s as your compensation, you'd still be happy as a clam. But I think you'd have more things to do. I think having more jumps the tackle position above the wide receiver position in terms of what they need to get done in this draft. So hurts the Chiefs a little bit, makes it a little bit more dramatic if the Chiefs are going to move up to get somebody like that. There's a possibility that they stay right where they are and Anton Harrison falls to them. In terms of a pure left, I think he's probably the next guy after the top 3. I do believe Dan has him right behind the top 3. Now, I have Darnell Wright a little bit ahead of him. They're very, very close on my grading system, but Darnell's played right. I think he has the smoothness and the athleticism to go over to left, but we haven't seen that on film yet. So that's going to be the problem. What do you think the Bears are going to do now? Okay, so I think I covered that mostly, Cody. I think they're going to go tackle. And Ryan Poles is an ex-offensive lineman. So I do think he's going to appreciate the smoothness, the power. I think Paris Johnson has trouble with some of the more elite pass rushers, but let's be real. Zadarius Smith is leaving Minnesota. I don't know who's left in Green Bay. Detroit has the young kids, okay, but I think like he's going to feel like offensive tackle is still going to be pretty high up there. Patrick, good trade for the Bears. Happy Friday. Appreciate you, Patrick. Thanks for being here, and thank you all you for being here. If you don't know me, I'm Ryan Tracy. This is Ryan Going Rogue. That's what RGR football is. I started this as a way to not do the same thing everywhere and do film and do a little bit of everything to kind of pass on some of my knowledge and my experience. And it's very Chiefs-centric, but it's also a little bit about the league like days like today. So if you're not one of our subs, go ahead and click that button and click the like too. I would appreciate it. We're just going to hang out for a while, at least till my voice gives out, and then we'll get some things squared away. Pie Dessert, could the Lamar leverage actually make a team want to trade down with us and use our end to pick up the first-round pick to use Lamar on draft day? I mean, I don't know if that's enough leverage. I think Lamar's going to be a really interesting saga, but it might make a couple of teams a little bit more apt. But from what I hear, it's nobody in the top 10, 12. I mean, would he go across town to Washington? Washington's one of the teams that I've been mocking a lot for trades with the Chiefs because they're right in that range where I think they can get one of the top tackles. They have Sam Howell as their number one quarterback right now. They're in a hole. I know they're trying to talk him up, but I don't think that's going to happen. So the question becomes, let's see, where are they? They're at 16. Could Lamar go there and force them to not have to use that, acquire some more picks and get out of it? Maybe. Who else could he go to? I think the Jets is going to end up being Aaron Rodgers. I'm just going to say that out loud. I don't buy the Falcons thing. I don't think if the Falcons are smart, and I think they are, I don't think they're going to give up on Desmond Ridder. If they do, I'll trade for Desmond Ridder right now to be Mahomes' backup because I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I think there's a lot to go on in several places, but there are some impact that some of the quarterbacks still have yet to have. Carr going to the Saints. I don't think the Saints were in a position to really help the Chiefs in the first place, but you never know. Where were they picking? I'm just double checking. They were 29, so they weren't going to help the Chiefs anyway. Now the Jets, they have enough that they still have to get done, even though they were a playoff team or nearly so. You know, they have 13. I think they're going to get that quarterback, and I think they're going to stay at 13 and try to put more weapons around him. I'm a little surprised at the Geno signing in Seattle. I thought they'd go young. They don't need to now, although they still might. You never know. So it becomes about who really wants Lamar. But I would hope, especially, I'd love the scenario if he went across town and Baltimore and Washington Commanders, their practice facilities are about not even 30 minutes apart, as I understand. I think that would be really intriguing. If Lamar's smart, maybe he wants to go down to Tampa Bay. Even if the Chiefs were able to get Tampa Bay's number 19, I think they could still be in striking distance if somehow the Bears don't go tackle now. That's going to be the turning point, in my opinion, though. So we'll hold our breath. Thanks, Pie Dessert. Good question. Jeremy, thank you. What about the Tommy Townsend move and is Veach digging too deep of a hole? I don't think he's digging too deep of a hole. Townsend, I don't think somebody's going to come calling for him, to tell you the truth. To the rest of the league, he looks like a good punter with a great leg that doesn't do much work, and that's a little bit more of an iffy proposition. A lot of guys have a lot more punts under their belt by this time. You know what I mean? Playing, on a team with Mahomes, you don't get to punt as much. So I wonder. I felt like maybe they just feel if he does get an offer, they're just going to match it and they're going to deal with it, whatever it costs. So I don't think that's too big of a deal. Oh, excuse me. What are your thoughts on KC's representation attending uh, the Odell Beckham practice? I mean, they have to. Every team in the league should, because if he's fully recovered, he can still contribute to a team. If he, before that Super Bowl injury, I mean, he was still contributing to that team. He would be icing on the cake in Kansas City. Now, I still think that they bring back Juju, but if you were to get Odell, that's a guy that can do more than just be a name. He can actually help the whole organization, I feel. So yes, they should go. They should check it out. Again, he's a free agent. He can sign whenever he wants. There's no restriction. And honestly, it puts Chiefs on an even playing field. It's just about the money that they want to spend and what he's demanding. I have a guess it's going to be pretty demanding. If he comes to that practice and shows out for everybody, particularly his ability to decelerate and cut, that's going to be the key. If he does that, he's going to be able to pretty much write his own check still because of his reputation. Can you explain the thought process in tendering Tommy Townsend? That's the gist of it, is that I think, they don't expect a lot of offers for him. And if they do, they don't think it's going to be outrageous money. So they feel that they can just match it and go on. If they really felt like it was going to be something they didn't want to match, then they would be sure to make sure they got compensation. But this tells me that they're planning on bringing him back either way. So I don't think it's too much of a big thing. Thanks, Sean. Dan, do you see the Chiefs being active right when free agency starts? Yes, I kind of do. If they're going to get it done, get it done. They have marquee needs this year at edge and left tackle. If they're going to get anything done there, they got to go do it. This is not the two positions to screw around and wait till the third tier of free agency like the Chiefs usually do and bring in guys that you hope have upside or you think can get there. This is Patrick Mahomes' blindside we're talking about. You have to have a plan and you have to execute it so that you protect him. So if that's their plan, if left tackle is in their plans for free agency, I expect them to do it right out the gate and get her done. I'm a little just kind of unsure if left tackle is their plan for free agency. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around not tagging Orlando at least as a backup option. So that part, I have to admit, has thrown me off a little bit. If you guys would hit the like right now while you're here, there's over 300 folks in here, as Dan was saying, I would appreciate that. I know it's a Friday evening and we're all trying to chill out and wind down from the work week. I will not be having the customary Friday beer on the stream because I don't need it today. It's only going to hurt my throat more. So try not to dig myself a hole. And that's the question a couple of you guys are asking. And yes, thank you, Night Hunter, if you guys would hit that like button as well. Should they? We'll get to that here in a second. We're gonna take the questions in order. And for those of you who want to support the channel, hit the super chat on one of your questions. We'd appreciate it. You can grab some of the gear. This is my Mahomes logo design. It's called the MVP, and you can get this stuff too, because this is what rebuilding looks like in Kansas City, and it is a Lombardi trophy. So I like to throw that around when I'm walking around Denver. Makes me stand out in a way that I enjoy. So that's my thinking, Sean. And Dan, thank you. Do you see the Chiefs being active? Okay, got that one. Ryan, who do you think is number one? Let's take a look at it. This is an organization in Carolina now that has had, let's be real, a rough go of it lately with quarterbacks that are stand in the pocket, diagnose, and try to dissect the defense, right? Baker didn't work out. Sam Darnold. They still have Matt Corral on the roster. And so that shows me that they were looking for something a little bit more dynamic, right? But Corral was still better in the pocket than out. He's thin and slight. He's not as light as Bryce Young, but I think Bryce Young is the best pure quarterback in this draft. Yes, he's probably not going to play at the 205 that he weighed in at last week at the combine. I'm still not terribly concerned about that because he's peripherally aware enough that he doesn't take a whole lot of hits. He knows when to get out of bounds. I'm not too worried about the grind on it. Is it always a risk? Yes. But I could see them not being bothered by it, mostly because the dynamicism he has, the it factor that he has is he's just a winner. He pulls things out when he shouldn't. That Texas game last year stands out to me. Like there's a number of performances that I think that that's what they're looking for, is a spark of a leader, maybe more so than just a pure passer. But the other direction that I can see them going, and I hope for their organization's sake, and if they ever ask me, I will implore them not to do this, but I could see them trying to harken back to the Cam days. If they do that, then they likely have Anthony Richardson on the top of their board. If they do that, I think it's a mistake, because I don't think Anthony Richardson's ready to be a quarterback. He's an excellent athlete, but his decision-making and processing leave a lot to be desired. For every good game he has 2 that he's down. You guys, you go out there, and next time somebody tries to talk you up that Anthony Richardson should be the top pick, you ask them this question. Show me one game where he's elite that isn't against Utah, and see what they say. Because I think he's making a lot of his reputation on one game early in the year that he got a lot done. I think the rest of it is a crapshoot, to be quite honest. The talk coming out of the combine is a lot of teams felt like they had a lot of work to do to train him up, to get him up to speed. I don't think there's any problem with him physically, whether it be the legs, the arm, anything. He's got good instincts in the pocket. He's a great athlete. He's dynamic in ways that I think still shows that he can throw the ball, and he's not just looking to run as a runner. He's a little bit more deliberate in that than even Lamar was. But the difference between he and Cam, who he's going to get a ton of comparisons to, is Cam, I think, was always a better passer, made better decisions, even though he wasn't the greatest at decisions either. So I think that is more of a risk than anything. So I think Anthony Richardson may be my 5th quarterback, maybe my 6th. And I think opinions are split on him all over the place. I think Bryce Young is the best. If you're scared off by his size, I think CJ Stroud is the 2nd best. I could see him being more of a out front leader in Carolina. It's just that he's, especially with his lack of using his legs until the semifinal, he's more of what they've been like in Sam and Baker, and trying to run it all from the pocket. So CJ may actually turn them off just because of their recent history. But I think CJ is great. Thanks, Only Nice. Would you be good with Anton Harrison at 31 if Kayshawn from Booty from LSU and Tillman are available at the same time later in the draft? Who are you taking? Tillman over Butte every time for me. I don't care what level it's at. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, wherever they go, Tillman will have the edge for me over Butte. But Harrison at 31, I think can work. Is it my preference? No. I prefer Darnell Wright overall, but he's a right tackle. I prefer Paris Johnson and Broderick Jones as a left tackle, but they cost more. They're going to cost a trade up. You're probably going to have to lose at least a 3rd round pick to do it. And the Chiefs did get that compensatory pick, that number 100, but that's already gone because that was the Toney trade. So that belongs to the New York Giants. And that's the issue. So it's about cost in my mind. But Anton Harrison is a viable option there. If you don't go Anton at 31, I think you can come back in the 2nd and still have an option. Everyone's going to connect Blake Freeland to Andy Reid because of the BYU thing. I think Blake is underpowered. He reaches too much, and I think he's going to get beat up early. Like, think Eric Fisher about how slow he was out of the blocks because he wasn't strong enough. That's Blake Freeland. I do think that Bergeron could get it done. He is a little bit of the shorter arm, so that is a concern. But I do think, I think he came in at 33.5. I think it's serviceable. Unfortunately, the guy that I really like on the other side, right tackle, was Wanya Morris, Anton's teammate. And Jalen Duncan's the really interesting one. He gave up a lot of pressures and some sacks. He might be the best ceiling athlete in this group. Jalen Duncan's going to be there in the 2nd. Probably he might even be there in the 3rd for them, although they are very low 3rd. But that's kind of the way it runs down. I don't see DeJuan Jones as an option for the Kansas City Chiefs. Not only is he a right tackle, but he's basically the next version of Orlando. long, tall, super massive, not quick in his feet. So I don't see that one. Thanks, Bart. Jay Hatch, hope you're good. Thoughts on Raiders QB situation after this trade? I don't think it much matters. I think they're going after Garoppolo. I don't think it's much of anything. I said it this way when the offseason started. It would be Brady, Garoppolo, and then trade with the Patriots. 1, 2, 3 are their options. I don't think McDaniels is probably scared of playing with Mac Jones. I don't know that the Patriots are in love with Mac Jones. It really depends on how they evolve their offense this season. It might be that O'Brien's going to help them. But Bill O'Brien knows him too. I think either Zappy or Mac Jones could be on the trade block. And especially for an old friend like Josh McDaniels, I think they could get that done. But I think first and foremost is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo because McDaniels knows him. Jimmy knows the system. He's got to make a point on his career if he's ever going to go down in history as anything other than that guy that could have been. So I think there's some legitimacy there. Let me stack some of these questions because I'm getting behind y'all. And Brandon, thank you, buddy. I'll get you in a second and we'll start from there. Let's see. If you guys would hit the like, I would very much appreciate it. And Night Hunter would too, because he's doing a heck of a job reminding me. Let me get these questions stacked and then I'll get there. This is like olden days, you guys. Back when the channel first started, when I was just here by myself, didn't have Dan to talk to, and I just had to do this and take time out to stack your questions. It's like a flashback, but thanks. Let's see. I got that one, and that one. Let me get Brandon's. Thank you, buddy. If the Packers trade Rodgers and decide to rebuild, would you go after Bakhtiari? Whew. That's a tough one, man. What did he play? 6 games last year? I got to look. I mean, he's a heck of a player in his prime. He's well on the backside of it now. And I hope I'm going to use your spelling because I don't know how to spell it. Because I'm terrible at spelling, just, generally. And I continue to not be able to. So, is it B-A-K? It might be. I'm looking. It is B-A-K-H. No, that's not it. That's Eric. I didn't know there was 2. I didn't know he had a brother. And maybe they're not brothers. That's a pretty rare name, though. So what did he play? No, I was wrong. He played more games than that. He played about 600 snaps. Bakhtiari did. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. He played 11 games. That's more than I thought he did, actually. He's still a good player when he's healthy. The question is he ever fully healthy? And I don't know that that's going to be the case much. He is still a very good player, but let's see. 600 snaps this season, only 27 the year before. That's when he got hurt. Only 800 the year before that. So, like in the last 3 seasons, he's only played not even 1,200 snaps. He has played 1,200, not 1,300. It's not a whole lot. So, if they trade Rodgers, I don't know. Bakhtiari's under contract for a while still, isn't he? I would have to think. So I wanted to say that he still had 2 or 3 years. I'll look him up here as well, and I'll just share this with you guys so you can see what I'm doing, because this is what I do when I don't know the specific numbers so that I can show you. So let's put his name in again. And yes, see, there's an Eric. That's kind of weird. Oh, I'm not presenting yet. Hold on. Let me put that in there. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. So Bakhtiari, so you can see here, he's under contract for both 23 and 24. So let's see if they traded for him. I mean, they have an out. He's basically on their contract next year, and they're going to cut him because he's got a 20 million base and a 19 million bonus in 24 for cap number of 40. His cap number now is going to be 20. I don't think they are going to do that for a 32-year-old tackle that's only played 1,300 snaps in the last 3 seasons. I could be wrong. If they released him, it would be a totally different deal for me. I wouldn't give up the trade capital to go get Bakhtiari, but if he were a free agent, I would try to work out a deal with him because if he can get healthy, he can be viable enough in Kansas City. Let's see. Got that one, then that one. Cole, how are you, buddy? I heard somewhere that we had 12 or 13 picks this year, according to a list I saw a couple hours ago. We have a total of 8, including comp picks. Side note, Rip Otis Taylor. Yes, definitely Rip Otis Taylor. I didn't get to watch him, but hey, that's it. The Chiefs have 10 picks. They had their original 7, plus they got the 3 comps. One of those was traded. So I think effectively that brings it to 9, right? No, because they had the extra from Miami as well. So that was, yeah, so they should have 10. That should be the total count. Cable guy quote, hey, you never know, man. Should they trade for Laramie Tunsil? That's the big question. And you know what? Let me look at Laramie's contract because I don't recall what they'd be in for. It's the last year of his deal. He's 35 against the cap. So the only way they can do that is by instantly giving him an extension that he has already agreed to before being traded in order to lower his cap number. Now, because he's got so much prorated bonus already, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But they can extend him. They could do the void years if they have to. I'm okay with that. I know it digs a bigger hole. Like Chris Clark hates it. But hey, it is what it is. You do try 900 and you do a great job, buddy. Hold on. I'm getting that. Oh, and look at Scott pulling out one of my sleepers already, dude. Well done. Well done. I like that. Laramie, if you compare his snaps, let's look at that. And again, you guys, I use PFF for their stats, not for their grades. I'll arrive at my own conclusions. I mean, here's the thing. He played double the snaps of Bakhtiari, right? He's older than I thought, though. He's 28 and a half. I thought he was still 27, but still. But you can see, he's a great run blocker? No, not necessarily. But look at his pass rush. Even though their grades, again, I don't rely on, this is what I do rely on. How many pressures did you give up? Less than 1 a game is how many pressures he gave up. That's crazy. Only 1 sack on the season, and he did play Chiefs. He did play Jacksonville. They had a decent pass rush. Did play Max Crosby in the Raiders. You know, it wasn't for nothing. So yeah, I could see going after him. Again, it's about that money and it's about the cost. Now the good thing is, the Houston Texans already have a ton of picks. Like they're going to want to get their value, but it's not like they're going to be trying to get blood from a stone and squeeze out like some outrageous value for it, right? They're going to go with what probably works for them. And that's actually a good sign. I'm trying to make this window fit better so we can all see it a little bit better, but that doesn't seem to want to happen, and I'm not sure why. So I'm going to give up trying. How's that? So yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if they're going to pull it off or not. Would Anton Harrison be worth moving up 8 or more spots? Addicted, that's a great question. Let's see. Oh, giving you guys a quick look at my board. Don't get too deep because this is a work in progress. Yeah. I got to think right now. Yeah, I have him below Paris, tied with Darnell. Yeah. Okay, so I had that right. I don't think I'd trade up for Anton. Not 8 spots. Go to 23. I'm not so sure about that. So let's hold off on that concept. If you got to like 28, 29, you felt you had to, okay, but probably not. I'm probably not trading up for Anton Harrison because if he did go, I do feel like I can get a comparable player later or somebody that's close. New Punk, thank you, buddy. Chiefs are so hard to analyze since they generally do everything so unorthodox. I can see them trading most picks to fill their needs and use free agency for depth. I mean, it could very well be that. They've generally tried to take a run at a free agent to solidify their biggest need and then fill in and then draft behind it. So The problem is, if we look at the list of free agents, I can put that back up here again. If I click the right button. And there's a group of them. And thank you guys for being patient with my slower pace today. I know this feels like more like a hangout because I'm slow. Usually I'm quicker than this, but nature is not abiding with me today. So if we go look at free agency, I'll show you guys the list. It's just left tackles in particular. I mean, we already kind of ruled out Lawan, right? Because he's always hurt. Donovan Smith just became a free agent, but he's been suspect as well. There's a reason they let him out of his contract. He's not worth 15. I mean, Fish is still out here. George Gant, I might be interested in talking to. Juwan James is a guy that I'd check out just to see if you think he can play better in this offense than he did in the Ravens offense. Who else? Pickings are pretty slim. So free agency for left tackle is a tough one. I have no interest in Dillard. I'd stay away from Hubbard. Matt Pryor, probably not. And I'm not sure about Donovan Smith. I don't think that I would pursue it myself. But what ends up happening is whoever is the best is going to go quick. I think it could be a trade, or it's most likely going to be the draft, is my thought. Let's say the Chiefs trade to maybe 23, and Quentin Johnson and Anton Harrison are both there. Who would you take? That's a very good question. So at 23, it's going to be close because I have Quentin Harrison as my number 3 wide receiver, but I don't even think I have I don't think my top receivers in the top 16. I think 1 and 2 are in the 20s overall. I think Quentin's going to be either right at 31 or maybe even at the top of the second because I'm not impressed enough for a guy who should be more dominant than he is. I'm a rarity, though. Like Dan, I think Dan might have him as his number 1. I don't. So, like, I have Harrison probably rated better. So if it came down to that, and I had already given up the capital to get to 23, and it came down to those two, I'm going with Harrison. That's just my personal decision. I don't know if Veach would agree because when you have Patrick Mahomes, you always got to feed him targets. So that might be a higher priority for them. Thoughts on the Bears taking wide receiver at 9 and then picking 33, taking left tackle, and 39, taking either another wide receiver or an offensive line. There are 3 elite tackles. There are no elite wide receivers. I don't think number 9 is worth a wide receiver at all. So I had hoped that's what they were leaning towards, but I think they'd go tackle first, come back at 33, and look at either edge or wide receiver at 33, which again negates what the Chiefs are trying to do. So I'd love it if Ryan's like, let's go get another wide receiver. We'll just build out that room first. That would help the Chiefs. I'm just worried that that's not what's going to happen. Great question, Only Knives. Thank you, Jonathan. Now that we have a little bit of time to look at players that were at the combine, who is a specific player that you absolutely would jump up into the teams to go get before other teams? That is a great question. Let me grab my other laptop. Hold on. I am about 60% done with the Matrix. I'm building the graphics pages now. It will be out next week, hopefully midweek. So if you haven't gone and grabbed the Matrix yet, go get signed up for that. You can pre-order it now, and it will just you'll get an email, and I'll let you know on here where you can pick it up because pre-orders, it's all built in there, so it's super easy. I had the location here, yeah, right here. Let me put that up, or let me use this one actually. You can pre-order that now at rogueapc.com. That's this year's 2023 Athletic Matrix. That's all the numbers from the Combine. I'm doing it a little bit differently this year. That's going to be the Combine edition, and then I'll have a last edition just before, maybe a week before the draft. It'll be Matrix. It'll be all of our draft grades, the draft guide, and then I'll come back around and re-update the Matrix with all the pro day information. Like today, I guess Sheldon, Sydney didn't run. Devin Witherspoon's who I'm thinking of at Illinois. I was really looking forward to him. So like his is going to be even later in April. There's 2 or 3 other players. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be somewhere later in April. So I got to wait for all that. That's why I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out so people can get a good look at the combine guys who did perform, and we'll come back with those guys that didn't. So back to your question, Jonathan. Which player would you jump into? So that said, the reason I bring up the Matrix is because, based on the combine, who's worth jumping to go get? And so what comes to mind is if you look, I don't think you have to jump for Jalen Hyatt. He's wide receiver 1 in the Matrix. I don't think you have to jump for Tyler Scott. He's number 3. I have serious doubts about Bryce Ford-Wheaton. He's like a 6th, 7th round pick to me, which I'm fine with the Chiefs taking on day 3. But he's nowhere near a first round player to me. Sovius, however you pronounce his name, from Princeton, Rashee Rice. Josh Downs and Rice are guys that I think are second rounders. They're about as close at the top of the matrix to being somebody that you would want to go after. Whereas on the offensive line, Freeland is number 1, and I told you guys there's going to be a connection there. But then Skoronski's number 2. I think Skoronski's a guard. That's just the way that I feel. But if the Chiefs, who generally like length, want to mess around and go with a shorter armed guy who came in, what's Skoronski come in at? 32 and a quarter. That's short. They generally have a 33-inch threshold, and they generally don't even go below 34 if they don't have to. So I don't think Skoronski's really on their board. But if they had a gap at guard, and I know there's a Thuney theory out there, I don't subscribe to it, but if that were true, Skoronski's guy you could jump up to go get. Let's see. We're looking down here. Of the top tackles, you won't have to go up for Duncan. You won't have to go up for Braden Daniels, who had a really nice combine as well. And who's the guy that they really liked that isn't getting enough pub? Anthony Bradford. There's a name to keep on your radar. The Chiefs had a meeting with him. I've heard from 2 different sources that were in Indianapolis about how much they like him. He's an all-around offensive lineman. He can, what did he come in at? 33 and a half. He played guard. He can probably move out to tackle in a pinch, but he could easily be a swing guy. And he's super strong. He is one of the strongest players in this offensive line group. Excuse me. So there's a guy. None of those guys do you have to go jump up to get, though. So let's go to the edge. Who would you jump up for? I don't think Tommy Adewale is an edge. He's D tackle to me. And that's where I have him listed. I wouldn't jump up to go get him. I like him, but I'm not jumping through hoops because I think that costs picks. I think it's difficult to recover that kind of quality when you're talking about defensive line. So that's kind of where I come from it there. So then it's like, okay, tackles, what edges could you go get? Will Anderson's not going to be far. Now with the top 2 picks, they're going to go quarterback, but he could be 3. He could be 4 or 5. He's not going very far past that. The next guy that I might move for at edge, I like Nolan Smith, but honestly, he's not a fit. He's not a Spags type player. I love him. I've been talking him up since the season. I think people finally started to see why. But he's not a Spags power player. Neither is BJ Ojolari, who didn't work out last week. But BJ's another guy. He's got the length, but he's a stand-up 3-4 outside linebacker. He's not a power player. He's got more moves. Nolan's got a nice duck move. But I think the guy the Chiefs might be interested in is either Miles Murphy in the first, and they might go up a little ways to get him. Did you have a specific number in here, Jonathan? No. Okay. I think they could move up 21, 23 to get Miles Murphy if he falls, because I think they like him. I think they'll love Tyree Wilson. Tyree's better than I initially thought. He's still not elite, in my opinion, with how he plays the game. He's a physical specimen. And I think he's everything the Chiefs hoped Tano Passanio was going to be. So I think he's a guy that they could go up and get. I don't know that I'd go up terribly far for him. I could go to 20 if he were there. But he's a guy that they might want to go up for. And just so you guys know, Isaiah Foskey is a guy I think they might like in the second. So in case they go tackle first, just watch for them to come back with that one. Okay, I'm going to stack some of your questions here. Excuse me. Getting some of these. All right. Getting down here. I'm going to run out of juice pretty soon, you guys. Do the Chiefs jump up in front of Bills just to see the hearts break? I mean, hey, yeah, why not, right? Get it up for all that you're worth. Where are they picking again? I don't even know. Did they trade something away? Oh no, they're 27. Oh yeah. I mean, hey. Yeah. Why not get in front of the Bills? Just to make it a nice, like, succinct journey. Keep them on their toes. Could OT Jones from Georgia fall far enough for the Chiefs to pull a McDuffie type trade? That's the big question, Scott. I thought that it was possible until today. Now I think that the tackles are all moving up a little bit because I do think that Chicago's going to want to take one. But I'm very happy that Jones seems to be third on a lot of media boards. And what I hear, he's second on a couple of teams' boards. There are very few teams that have him number one like I do. So I am hopeful that could he get to 16 or 19? Those are the spots where I'm thinking the Chiefs could pull off a trade and go get him. Yes. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. It's what I hope that they try to do. But that's going to be about the limit. Getting up into the top 10, I don't think is an option for anything other than a quarterback. Excuse me, guys. Bears take with number 9, come back at 39, take LT and sign Odell. Yeah, I mean, I'd love it if they took a wide receiver at 9. Helps me in the Chiefs. Come back at 39. Don't they still have 33, though? Maybe I'm wrong. Let me look. Too many buttons. Oh, no, it is 39. You're absolutely right. Well done. And then sign Odell. Yeah, I mean, Bears have the most cap space available. I think it's like $94 million. So they could easily go get Odell. I mean, you put him with Moore and Claypool, you got a nice trio there. There's a little bit of depth in that room. You could go that direction. Scott, why does Yaya from Louisville not get much love? What am I missing? Should the Chiefs grab him at 63? Yaya is a really interesting player. I don't think he knows exactly what he's doing yet, but he actually performed better at the combine than I expected, which is always a nice refresher for me. And in my pass rush gradients, he actually comes out pretty dang good. So I'll get more into that as we get closer to the draft about how I project the gradients of how they perform in college versus the league. But Yaya plays at Louisville. It didn't get on primetime television a whole lot. You know, if you're not an area Scott in that era, teams have to look for you. And so I think that's really primarily the reason. But I like him. He's got a body that Spags is going to love. What did he come in at lengthwise? Let me look. He came in at 33 and 7/8. Not enormous, but very good. Tackles are generally going to have longer arm length, but if you get anything close to 34, I think you're pretty happy. And he ended up 4th on the matrix right now. Now that's prior to pro days. Because he didn't do the agility shuttles. He actually looked really good in a straight line, and he jumped really well. 37-inch vert at 263 pounds. That was pretty damn good. So really like that. And by the way, just a little bit of a notice. Dan is very excited. I'm a little trepidatious because YouTube has relaxed some of their language rules. I can say some basic, I can say hell and not get dinged for it, not lose all of our monetization. It is a slippery slope for me because I cuss like a sailor in real life. So you probably won't hear a little bit. You'll probably hear a little bit from me, but it won't be a ton because once I get going, things are going to get ugly quick. Out of all the Spags guys, Miles Murphy, Van Ness, and Tyree, which do you think will be the best player in Spags' system? That's a great question, DJ. Honestly, in terms of being able to lock down, the best guy against the run right now is Miles Murphy, easily. The best edge pass rusher is Tyree. The best interior pass rusher is Van Ness. So they all have little bit of pluses, right? But overall in the system, the guy that I think would do the best is probably Wilson because he's got those things just like Tuck did. He's got the length and the body that can take it. He can learn to set the edge. I think Van Ness, if you try to put him at edge, he's going to be mismatched because he doesn't turn the corner that well. It's weird because he tested in agilities really well, but on film he doesn't bend. He's a straight ahead power player, so I think he's got a lot of learning to do too. But I think Murphy would be an edge as well. Van Ness would be a three tech, a tackle to me. I'm sorry, folks. This stuff is catching up with me. We'll try to get through the rest of the questions. How far does Andrew Voorhees fall? The ACL tear. And what about taking Puka Nakua? I like Puka Nakua. He made Jaron Hall look a lot better than he really is. I'm not very big on Jaron Hall, and I think a lot of it is because Puka made some really nice catches and was very good at being available to his quarterback. Puka's a day 3 guy. I could see him easily. What do the Chiefs have now? I got to look it back up. Hold on. Day 3, there's that one that's right at the end of the 6th. I think it's 260. No, it's 267, whatever that is. I think right about there, anywhere there down into the 200s, I think would be a range that you could take Puka. And yes, I do think Voorhees falls, not just for the ACL tear. He didn't have the greatest season. I think he'll be a day 3 guy, and he might be available there, somebody that Chiefs could pick up. I could see the Chiefs going double dipping at edge and at tackle because they need it that bad. I don't think that's a problem. With the Bells and Bagels both taking OT. I don't know if the Bengals will. We'll see. I don't know if they have. Do they have free agents at tackle? I don't recall, to tell you the truth. Let me look. We'll put that up here too. And I still have the banner up. Let me take that off real quick, you guys. And I know we have a lot more questions. Last call for super chats. My voice is going to crash here pretty quick, you guys. Miss Holly, welcome. Glad you're here. Seth George, glad you're here. A lot of the members. I'll try to do a speed round to answer some of your questions, and I'll definitely get the super chatters. Thank you for your kindness. Let's look at where were we going? Good Lord. Bills and Bengals. I don't think either of them gave up anybody significant. No. They both certainly could upgrade, but I don't think it's going to be like a high priority. Maybe not in the top 64. Maybe around 3. But I don't know if either of them is going to go beyond that. I probably would if I were them, but I don't know if they are. How you doing, Pono? Hope you're doing well. Need to do everything we can to get Tunsil. Can't roll the dice on a draft pick protecting Mahomes. I have no problem with that. It's about the contract. If they can get a contract agreed to that is an extension, I think you have to feel like Tunsil at similar money is going to play better than in this system than Orlando Brown did. That's how I feel about it. I ain't going to argue with you, Pono. I'm with you. If the Chiefs were able to get a steal such as Quentin Johnson or another player that is unexpectedly dropping in the 20s, would you take them and go for a second round tackle such as Cody Mock? I don't know that Cody's going to last where the Chiefs are in the second, though. He could fall into the second, but I don't know if he's going to make it past like 40 or 45. So that's going to be tough. But I like the way that you're thinking. If there's an exceptional player that's higher on their board, yes, I do think there's going to be some second round tackles, Jalen Duncan and Matthew Bergeron in particular, that I think are going to be viable options. Are they as good as the top 3? No, they're not, for a reason. I don't think that Anton will last that long either. He'll be gone. Let's see who else. Darnell, Dewan, they'll all be gone by pick 45. So you're talking about possibly Jalen Duncan, Matthew Bergeron, Freeland, maybe Braden Daniels, although he'd be lower down for me. But yeah, you could definitely do that. And I like Cody Mock. I actually have him listed as a guard. And I think I actually have him above Osiris John. I have him as the top guard. That's why I say that I don't know that he would necessarily go that late where the Chiefs could grab him. So, okay. We're going to go speedier here, you guys. Did I already get all of those? Good Lord. Evidently not. Okay, let me undo that and get back to here. Got that one. Okay, I got that one. Oh, okay. Guess I was doing that well. Dang. Speedier than I thought. That's what happens when I don't talk as much. Got that one, got Pono's, got Doug's. What's Doug got? Must admit, Ryan Poles has an awesome plan. Hats off to him for learning some things from Veach and company. You're absolutely right, Doug. Um, he's a pretty smooth guy. He's confident. He's not exactly like boisterous either. I have talked to him a couple of times, and I think he's going to do well there. He's learned the tricks that he needs to learn, and he's got his own perspective too. So I do think they will be tougher, and I do think they will be more explosive. I think he knows where he wants to go, and you know, my mom was a Bears fan, so I pull for them as well, just not as much as the Bears, so, or for the Chiefs. So that's the way it goes. Sean, pretty sure the Bears don't have 33. They would have traded to Pittsburgh with the Chase. Yeah, exactly. They're at 39 now. Um, Good point, Sean. And thank you, Doug. Cole, that Mahomes silhouette on your hat, is that just a just Watson? No, this is actually something that I ended up drawing it up from a couple of poses that he's made. But I wanted to do something like the silhouette deal. So this is all original. This is my design, and it's drawn. It's not taken from an actual event. It's kind of a culmination of arm angles and leg angles from a couple of them. But that's what makes it unique, and that's why it's one of my logos, not his. So otherwise, that'd be troublesome. Would you move up a little in the second to go get Felix? Yeah, I mean, I can get down with that too. I do think Felix is a good player, particularly if they let him do what he can do well, and that is stay outside. I don't like how much K-State put him inside and put him heads up. They played that three-man rush a lot, and I don't think that was good for his skill set. He's a team guy, and he pulled for it, so I'd like to see him. I could trade up. Let's see, where the Chiefs at 63. I could go up to 54, maybe even to 50, depending on the compensation to try to grab him. I could see doing that. Chiefs have had a lot of luck with second round picks, so I don't think that's a terrible idea at all. Good one, Scott. Kyle, we have 6 picks in the top 134. Does Casey trade up with those few and lose those few picks? Yes, they're definitely packaging picks, and they are going up. They need a tackle and they need an edge, and whichever they think they can get done, I think they will. I hope they will, because they got fish to fry. Let's see here. Grabbing the last couple. Oh, it's Queen Holly now. Okay, I'll get that right. Appreciate you being here, Holly, as well as all of you members and everybody here. I know it's Friday night, so we might as well sit around and talk ball. Got that one. If Miami is out of round one, could they package picks to move up into round one, or has the league said no first round pick at all? No, they can trade all they want. They lost their first round pick. It's been forfeit. So they can't have that. They can't use that to trade with. But if they wanted to trade back in, they can. They just have to, use all their other picks and get somebody to trade with them. No, it's been a loss of a pick, not barring them from picking in the first round. Good question, Steve. And Cashmate, do you think there's a possibility of getting Jalen Hyatt? I think it's definitely a possibility. He's a second-round player, fringe third-round player, so he's right in the area where the Chiefs could be picking in the second. I just have trouble seeing his narrower ability, skill set, being something that they have to do in the first 2 rounds. Now, if he slipped and he made it to the third, because he is a vertical threat, but he's not much of a varied route runner, and he's not a guy that survives contact very well, so he very well could slip to the third. That might be a better spot for him. The question is, if it comes down to the third and Hyatt's there or Tillman's there, who do you take? I lean towards Tillman because he's a more complete player, but it'd be tempting because Hyatt's speed is a killer there. So we'll just have to see how well he hangs in. Thanks, Cashman. Appreciate you. You have Jones's OT1. Where do you have Ojulari? He smoked Jones in their matchup last season. I wouldn't say smoked, if I remember right. He had a couple of really nice plays. It was one of BJ's better ones. I have BJ. He's in the top 5. Where do I have BJ? Yes, I have BJ at number 4 edge. I have him above Tyree Wilson because he has more technique to his game right now. Now, I don't know if he'll stay there in my final rankings because I've done 3 games of Tyree Wilson. I just got another one, and I'm going to get to 5 on each of them. So that may flip flop, but BJ's in the top 4, right where I think is legitimate. The problem is it's not a scheme fit. It's a little bit more of a projection because he really ought to be a stand up outside 3-4 outside linebacker. It's He can do it. Is it as easy for him? Not really. And that's, I think, where he gets in a little bit of trouble. I am going to pull BJ's stats up real quick because I want to go back and look at that game now that you gave me the idea. And I type on the right keyboard because I got too many things going on over here. Where is he? Okay. Oh, and I need to put the screen back on. There we go. Okay, so here's BJ's defensive grades. If it'll load. What did he do against Georgia? He did pretty good. Got 3 pressures. Didn't get home, but he hit the quarterback a couple of times. I didn't recall him really like beating the snot or cleanly beating Jones, but I'll go back and watch that again just to make sure. That was the conference championship game, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. That's where I've got him right now. There, Duke. Johnny, would you be interested in bringing Melvin Ingram back? I don't think Melvin's got anything left to offer, to tell you the truth. I thought it was a stretch when he was here, but he managed. They needed something. He gave him a little bit, but no, I wouldn't go get him now. Could Tooney be traded after this season? Does he have much value at his age and his cap number? I mean, Tooney's still playing at an elite level, so that makes it hard. But I do believe that would be the year if they were going to try to recoup something for him. I do think that would be it. Let me pull this up. So in 23, he's 15, total of 22 on the cap. Same in 24, same in 25. So it's all about even. If they were going to get out of it, they'd get out of it right now, but they're not going to because he was only 8 on the cap this last season. It's going up. I do think he is a guy that they could restructure. Let's see. I think they have numbers on that. Joe Tooney. Let me get a restructure. That would get them like $9 million back. That's probably not big enough. Hold on, you guys. Let me get that, and I'll try to get it zoomed in a little bit. That help at all? No, it really didn't, did it? There, let's do that. Okay. So by restructuring here, he's got a $15 million base salary. He's got that prorated bonus. Can't really do much with that. But you can restructure it, move some of it out, and then that buys you almost $10 million in cap space. That's a decent little chunk. So I think, honestly, that's probably worth it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that if they do restructure Tooney. Good question, Info. What is the compensation to move up 16 to 19? Seth, that's a great question. And it depends on who's holding those cards, those picks, I mean. I got to think it's going to be your pick at 31 plus at least a third and maybe a fifth. That's what I'd be pushing for. I think if you get to 16, they're going to ask for that second. You might have to give it to them in order to get that done. It would suck, but it is what it is. So yeah, somewhere between a second and a third, and then probably another pick down the line. Okay, grabbing the last of these. Any chances? Oh, that's an interesting question. A little early, but that's an interesting question. Okay. Okay. Ryan, do owners make any money off of guaranteed money of contracts like interest? That's a great question, and Chris would be better to answer that. But I do think it's not that they make any money. I do think they get a little bit of interest on what's held in escrow until it's actually doled out. But I don't think that amounts to much. Double Eagle, that's interesting. Yeah. Let me get with Chris on that because he probably knows the actual accounting of it. Great question. Daryl, who do you think the backup quarterback will be? That's a great question. I would like to see B. Chase Daniel, honestly. I'd like to see him come back. If not, let's go back to over the cap and see what the free agent pool is at quarterback. Because I don't remember there being much that I was kind of excited about. Carr's a saint. Okay, we get away with that. Um, let's see. Dalton, Blaine. There's another Mizzou quarterback. He just saved a guy's life last year down in Tampa. Um, just looking for guys that can be the older kind of like steady dude in the room. There just isn't much here. You see, Marcus Mariota. I don't know that Marcus brings much into the quarterback room to help you. Teddy, maybe. You need somebody that's a little bit older that can be like the elder statesman in the room. But I don't see a lot here, to tell you the truth. I think Mike White might get a chance to actually play somewhere. I don't know. I might look at Dalton, Jacoby Brissett, although I think Jacoby will probably get a chance to play somewhere too. I don't know. It's a great question, Daryl. I do think Bichelle will be on the roster. Maybe he can push to be the backup. That'd be cool. I can get down with that. Can we get an OT that is similar to OBJ rated in the draft at 31 and be the same boat as OBJ, but then we'd be better off with the money? Yeah. I mean, honestly, Anton Harrison is probably similar. He's not as slow with his feet, but he's not as long and he's not as powerful in handling bull rush. I think Darnell Wright's probably closer, and I do think he can go over to the left. I don't think DeJuan Jones is, but honestly, Orlando's really a right tackle. I think his play has proven that. So I do think Darnell Wright's probably closer, and he's an athletic upgrade. Ryan, do you still do the mock draft lives on Sunday? Really looking forward to it. Yes, that is the plan. Although it may get to the point because of my my family commitments, because both my kids are in competition seasons right now. Maybe Dan doing the Sunday nights. We're going to see about that. We're still trying to figure that out right now, but in the next couple of weeks, we're going to settle that down. And Doug will definitely be doing live mock drafts just to get through as many scenarios as possible and see what's out there. I'm waiting patiently for Draft Network to update their machine and for PFN to update theirs, because right now the only ones that are really working are FanSpeak and Pro Football Focus. So I like to have a few more options too, so we get different aspects of it. Okay, last run. Thank you everybody for the super chats. Thank you all for being here. I don't see any other super chats. That's good. So Scott will get the last question. Will the Chiefs use a 4th or 6th to pick up a QB? Yeah, why not? It depends if they get everything else done, but I would think that they should. There's a couple of guys that I like that are going to be down there that could grow into something. Tanner McKee, I think, is going to be a 2nd round pick. I do think he is that good. I've been a little higher on him than most, but I do recognize that he's probably going to be a upper day 2 guy. Don't shout at me. Stetson Bennett's going to get drafted. He's going to be a late day 3 guy. He could be a 6th round guy there. Maybe that works. I don't know if he fits in very well as a backup. I'd love to see DTR as a 5th or 6th round pick in Kansas City. I think that'd be interesting. Other than that, I think that's probably the limit. So they have to really like somebody to pull that off, but I think there's a possibility there. So, hey, appreciate you guys being here. I know it's a weird night on Friday, but, had to talk about the trade and what it meant for the Chiefs. If you're not one of us, hit the sub right now and hit that like for me. I would appreciate that. We'll be back with you on Sunday. One of us will. And I'll probably be traveling, so it'll likely be Dan. We'll see. And we'll kind of go from there. So I hope that you enjoy your weekend. I'm going to go get some sleep and try to get this fixed. Thanks for being here. And check out the rest of the stuff. NFL33.com right now. That's our Substack. It's just starting to get going as we release more and more of our draft info. So go get subbed over there. The pay subs get all of our rankings and all the film breakdowns and all that stuff. But you can still get boards for free and that kind of stuff too. So just go check it out and see if you're into it. Thanks for spending your time. Enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you next time.